Greetings, friends, and welcome to the Cowboy Up Podcast, where the talk is all about the West and the cowboy adventure. And we're so glad that you are with us. And this episode is brought to you by the Dude Ranch Association, as they put together places that families and businesses and individuals can enjoy a cowboy experience, a Western adventure. And our program today is about the people who make that possible. Colleen Hudson is here to talk about the Dude Ranch Association Foundation and how it assists not only the organizations, but then the children, the families, and all of the people who are involved in this wonderful, truly American adventure. And that program begins right now.
Well, Alan, great to see you. I really missed you for our last podcast. I'd never rode solo before, and you missed the great Gidget interview.
Well, you didn't fall off the truck.
Well, Gidget was standalone quality. She didn't need me. I was just the other guy in the room.
You always are too modest.
She was terrific. Well, today we have my longtime friend, and we met in an odd set of circumstances when I was firing her predecessor. Colleen Hudson, longtime, almost 20-year executive director of the Dude Ranch Association, our almost 100-year-old trade association, and current executive director of the Dude Ranch Foundation, which is a 501c3 that works on well, we won't talk about it. Colleen will talk about all the things the Dude Ranch Foundation does. And we have her on because she's retiring again. So
let's go into that for just a minute.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that. And so, Colleen, Alan and I are here. Great to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here. You guys do such a great job, so I'm happy.
Well, I want to hear about this second run. You're on your second lap.
Yeah, I am a little bit on my second lap. Well, when I was the director of the DRA, the Dude Ranchers Association, I did both the foundation and the association. So when I retired from that 5 years ago, and they hired the new executive director, Bryce Albright, she took that over, but I remain the director of the foundation because it is something that I truly love, and I truly wanted to see expand a little more than it had in the last. We're celebrating our 36th year this year, and so I could really devote these last 5 years to growing the foundation, which I think I've done, along with all the board members and the amazing donors that we have. And so I think it's time for me to step down and hand the reins over to a new girl.
Well, where are you headed with it? When you hand over the reins, what's the new director where's he gonna go?
Well, what I hope is going to happen, we were lucky enough to find someone that is located here in Cody, Wyoming. She has a background with a big Buffalo Bill Historical Center here in Cody. I'm sure everyone's aware that, probably the most world famous Western museum. She's been there for 13 years. So what we're hoping is going to happen is we're going to be able to strike up a partnership with them a bit to grow our little museum, our little Dude Ranch Museum. We hope she's going to focus on bringing us back to where we were before as far as our credibility in the Cody area and in the area of Wyoming. We have a goal of raising $3 million for our endowment fund, for our scholarship fund. We're hoping that, she'll be able to bring some of those big donors on board as well. Bring the museum up to where it needs to be to focus and highlight on dude ranching, the history of dude ranching, current dude ranching, past dude ranching. We're big believers that we need to preserve our past in order to secure our future, and so that's what we're hoping she will do.
Well, and Colleen, I mean, it was a lucky coincidence for me because I was, after we actually hired Josie, I was in Cody for a really super quick trip, thanks to our friend Joe, who got us up there and back. And so I got to meet her at dinner, and it confirmed everything we believed on our Zoom call with Josie. But we're excited about her events background, and I'd like you to talk about the Dude Ranch Heritage Center there, that's directly across from the Irma Hotel, Buffalo Bill's hotel that he built. Talk about that space and our museum and what Josie may be up to going forward.
Right. Yeah, so we do have a museum. It's right across the street, like Russell said, from the world famous Irma Hotel. It houses, we have a ton of archival material in there from Dude Ranching past. I mean, we have minutes from the very first meeting back in 1926. Moving forward, we have we just have a lot of stuff that needs to be taken care of, preserved, and we're going to hope she's going to do that. We hope she's going to bring some events to the area, to the venue that we haven't done in the past. It's a great venue to host, small little fundraising events or dude ranchers in the area or out of the area, to host classes, seminars. And then, good old-fashioned fundraising cocktail parties is what we're hoping she will bring to the slate, because that's what her background is. And she has real inroads here in Cody with that whole genre of people that are, that are willing to get their checkbooks out and donate to causes like this. So we're hoping she'll bring that, which I think she will, again, because that is her background, and that was not really my background. I focus more on getting, I was there when we bought the museum, and, just getting the museum up and running, trying to find finances, to keep the scholarships going, keep everything going. So, and again, I'm getting a little long in the tooth, and we just needed some new young blood in there, and she's going to bring that, and it's going to be very helpful, and it's going to be very successful.
Well, and what you and I share a big love for is the Dude Ranch history, and of course, we're told, I don't know how accurate it is, we're told that the Dude Ranchers Association, the trade group, coming up almost 100 years old now, anniversary 2026. That's one of the oldest trade groups out there, but it all started with a group of ranchers being supported and spurred on by the railroad, and Larry Larum, our first president, it's kind of an odd analogy, but he's the George Washington of the DRA. He's the first president. He served in that role for 18 years,
right?
A really long time. And of course, after that, they term limited them, so you're in and out after 2 now.
Right.
So talk about Larry, because he's from that area, right? And that ranch is still there, but it's private. Valley Ranch and Larry Larum.
Yeah, Larry Larum was a bigger-than-life guy, obviously. He was actually from back east. He was a Princeton boy that came out west. He fell in love with it. He actually started a program. It was for taking young people, young boys, into Yellowstone Park on pack trips, on these lavish pack trips for a month. And then he would bring these boys out, and they would stay at the ranch. They would learn all the things that cowboys do, and hopefully return home to their Eastern heritage a better person, because they'd learn how what the Western lifestyle was all about. So Larry was really big at that. Like Russell said, he started the association. He was smart enough to gather up with the railroads, knowing that the little dude rancher group that was there could not do this on their own, that they needed someone that could get the word out. And it was a perfect combination. The railroads needed a place for people to go. The dude ranchers needed to get people to come here to their ranches. So it worked out well. I mean, these guys started what we call the founding fathers or the legacy ranches of the DRA. They were amazing marketers. They were amazing, smart people. They would go back to Washington. They would fight for the rights of the West and the land use and the water use and all of that, things that was really way before their time. It was really interesting to read the stuff that these guys did, and the torch that they carried back east into Washington, D.C. And, a lot of people say, well, dude, what was their role? Well, I am a big believer that dude ranchers actually helped create the West. They made it what it is today. Without dude ranchers and without them bringing, people out here out west, the West would be a lot different. Without dude ranchers fighting for all the rights, for land use, and back then a lot of it was also hunting and what they were going to do with the land, who was going to get to use the land. Without the dude ranchers fighting for all of that, I think the West would have been a lot different than it is right now. So, bravo to them. They don't get near enough credit for that, I don't believe.
And they really shaped it in a lot of other ways, right? I mean, a lot of these dude ranchers, the majority, in my own little bit of research, both in Arizona and Wyoming, doing those books, the early ones either were from the East, like Larry, the Princeton guys,
right,
or they were associated more at the OTO. Dick Randall, he wasn't an Easterner, he's a Midwesterner, but he knew very quickly that that's where the guests and where the money, because if they didn't have money, they weren't going to be dudes. They couldn't afford the trip, so they quickly allied themselves with the East if they were going to be successful, and that's where Dick went to do his promoting and work really hard. But those folks, a lot of them came out and bought property and ended up Westerners and brought with them the money and the culture of business to the West. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Larry Laram had his office in the Brooks Brothers store back in New York. I mean, that's a pretty big deal back then. So, again, the roots were really tight, and they realized in order for them to be successful, they were going to have to get those boys on board, which they did. I mean, if you probably look back at the first 20 ranchers in the DRA or dude ranching out west, I'm going to say at least 3/4 of them boys are Princeton boys, and that's how they got their start out here. So, it's amazing how smart and clever these guys were to get this whole thing going.
How did Princeton get tied up with the West and the promotion of the West and all that? Was there a guiding light that said these two together are going to make an imprint?
I have not read that there was a guiding light. I think from the things I have read and from things I have studied is that for whatever reason, the parents of these Princeton boys thought, they need to get a real glimpse in what real life is about, become real men and, get a little more worldly. So they sent them out here not knowing that they were going to absolutely fall in love with it and stay. And so then what they did is they brought their Princeton friends out. And I think that's how it all started. But I don't think there was a real conscious effort that the Princeton people were going to come out. I think they were just very interested. And I mean, let's face it, they were probably learning about the West, whereas some other people were not learning about it. But I think they probably were learning about it. That's about when, they were starting the national parks and they wanted to come and be a part of that. And the hunting, I believe the hunting was a big part of it, coming out, west to go hunting, and then they fall in love with it. So
there wasn't an organization that guided all that. It was just a group of individuals that kind of had similar goals.
Yeah, I believe so. And they had the means to do it. Not everybody had the means to make that big trip out here. So no, there was not that I'm aware of. Russell, are you aware of a group like that? I'm not.
No. And like you said, I mean, the early dudes were all, and they're all the names we've heard of, right? The Roosevelts, Rockefellers, Vanderbilts, Carnegies. Yep. It was, it was all those. And if it wasn't them, it was the people that were of similar status that we just haven't heard their names. So, of course, dude ranching started at the Custer Trail Ranch, the Eaton's family, and first guest taken 1892 in the Dakota Territory. They moved to Wolf, Wyoming, where they are today, 1904. What was the era of Laram at the Valley Ranch? By the way, it was also associated for a year or two with K.L. Bar outside Wickenburg, which is Arizona's oldest continually operating dude ranch. But give us kind of a rough era on Larry and the Valley Ranch.
Well, I believe that Larry came out here and started, the Valley Ranch like in the early 1900s. I would say probably 1905, between 1905 and 1910. And that's when he started the boys school, the Valley School, which was a school for boys, for wayward boys kind of from back east that came out here and stayed. And then that's when he kind of started doing the trips in Yellowstone Park, same time the Eaton boys were doing their big trips in Yellowstone Park. So, I would say between, like I said, 1905, 1910.
And he was there. Do you recall? I should know this because he's a big part of my Wyoming book. But when did he sell? Because he sold to somebody who kind of got up to some shenanigans, right. and then they didn't do very well, and then Baron Collier bought it, right?
Right, and he sold it to, oh gosh, what was that guy's name? I just was listening to Ernie Miller's wife, Grace Miller, talk about him because he was a friend of Larry's, had been to the ranch, right. But he brought a 15-year-old girl bride, which did not set well with the other dude. Well,
kind of, if you know the story, Ken Jones told me because he was the manager at the time, and he kind of stole her, and he was up to some naughty stuff there.
Yeah, and he did not make a big impression, and he did not last very long at Valley Ranch.
Right.
And then he sold it to Baron Collier, who came in, and it is now a private ranch. Baron is a Florida guy that came in and bought the ranch and has really restored the ranch. In fact, I just heard that they are going to maybe start doing some dude ranch trips and basing them on what it was back in 1920, in the 1920s.
Recreating some of the
the
ambiance from the
absolutely. And it won't be open to the public. It will be private only. So, but it'll be interesting to watch, see if they can do that, because it is a cool place. It is one of the most beautiful valleys you've ever seen.
Well, and you speak well of Baron Collier and what he's done for the ranch. You've always been, of course, for me as a dude rancher, I'd love to see it open again, but because he's an amazing guy. He's been on the board of the Buffalo Bill Historical Center for many, many years. I mean, he's just done tremendous things for this town. So, yeah, he's a great guy. Well, and he's almost a lifer now. I mean, he's been there a long time. Yeah.
Yes, he has. I mean, his kids were born and raised here, and they're well into their 30s and 40s now. So he's been here a long time.
What's out ahead for the association? Is it going to grow and get bigger? Is it where it's destined to be, or what's what are the
Dude Ranch Association? Unfortunately, member ranches are shrinking. Ranches are going away. They're either going private, they're either going to corporate. Or they just can't find anybody that wants to buy a ranch and run it as a dude ranch. These ranches sit on some pretty amazing properties, pretty amazing pieces of land, and they're worth a lot of money. And if you don't have someone that really has a heart for it, really wants to take it over, because it's a lot of work. It's hard work to keep these things going. I mean, a lot of these buildings are, let's face it, they're over 100 years old, and probably not a lot of updates to the plumbing and the electric. So the whole thing is it's a lot of work. It's hard. It takes somebody with deep pockets that's going to buy a ranch and run it as a ranch. So, the numbers may be shrinking, but I think the association is going to stay strong with the numbers that they have. But again, it's, it's the sign of the times, really, unfortunately.
Well, in that, we got to take a break. We've gone overtime, and we've been getting in trouble. Well, the Dude Ranch Association is almost 100 members, and most of those members, sadly for me, are, they're up there in Wyoming, Colorado, Montana, and we're there too, but my home's in Arizona, and of course it's just around the corner, Dude Ranch season. Those peak months of starting sometime in May, June, July, August, and generally into September, and because of that narrow season, those ranches really fill up, and we had some good friends from Medicine Bow Lodge just here, and they were telling me they were just down to about 3 or 4 spots left for the whole summer. And so now, if you're thinking about taking your family, or you're a couple or single that want to get to a dude ranch, this is the time to book them. Don't wait, because you'll be getting those last dates at some place that probably had a cancellation. It really is time to start at duderanch.org, and that's the vetted, qualified, the best dude ranches, large and small, luxury to rustic, but they've all gone through the lengthy process the Dude Ranch Association has, and that's the starting point. And if you have questions, you call Bryce or Brandy at the Dude Ranch Association office, and they'll help direct you. But the site is very good at getting you there, so duderanch.org.
I'd like to hear a little more about the goals of the foundation and just where they are, and put it in the corral somewhere.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, like I said, this foundation was started in 1991, and it was a part of the association. The ranchers thought they needed to put some stuff together to give back to all the people that are coming out. So the first thing that they did was put together a scholarship program, which over the years, we've given well over $450,000 in scholarships to kids that are going to hopefully perpetuate the Western way of life. That's nowadays, that's a broad stroke of people. I mean, it can be marketers, it can be writers, it can be, where back in the day it was horseshoers and vets, but we need all kinds of people to keep this going. So we're still doing that. I'm right now we just closed out this year's scholarship program, so we're now going to go through all the applicants and see who qualifies to get a scholarship. We average about anywhere from 13 to 15 scholarships a year, for about $30,000 to $35,000 a year. We try and follow these kids. It's not just a one and done. We try and follow these kids all the way through their college career, which makes our little $2,500 scholarship, stretches that to $10,000, which is a pretty big deal for kids going to school now. We also, like I said, we want to grow the museum. We want to really focus on that. We want to focus on getting some great memorabilia in there. We need to get some more things that you can touch and feel, for sure, to engage people in what the history of dude ranching was. That's one of our goals. Our goal, we are actually just the nonprofit arm of the association, so we're here to support the association when we can and what they need. What we created about 22 years ago, we created what we call the horse safety program, and that is to help. It's been a huge success in keeping guests safe at dude ranches. Like I said, we're in our 22nd year of that. So we'd like to grow that a little more. We'd like to take that on the road a little bit to other organizations that could use it. I mean, dude ranchers they are the experts. They probably put more people in saddles per year than any other riding organization out there. Would you agree with that, Russell?
Yeah, I think I think somebody could argue that livery stables maybe collectively do that, but I'm not sure. But dude ranches are clearly the leader in recreational riding, particularly trail riding. And I think the rubber meets the road. The insurance companies support it financially. They support it in every way. And the most recent statistic that we have that the insurance company generated, not ours, it's not some internal shell game. The insurance company tells us that incidents at horse safety certified ranches through our program are 37% lower than at ranches that are not dude ranch horse safety certified. So, I mean, that's a big number, and that's not 1 year. That's not some anomalous result. That's 20 plus years of careful record keeping, and so obviously it's a great program, and we want to take it broader and help others. We're not proprietary. We'll go to other places, and I've done riding stables kids camps and include riding stables. Anywhere there's recreational riding, we can help them.
The commonality is horses?
Horses and recreational riding.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And safety.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to be safe. One of the other big arms of our nonprofit organization, the Dude Ranch Foundation, is, like I said, we are the nonprofit arm of the association, which is made up of dude ranchers. And, just by where they operate and how they operate, they're, you would call them the natural conservatives of the land. I mean, that's what we're doing. We have to do that because that's where we live. We have to conserve where we live, or else they won't be able to support their dude ranches. So we want to expand on that. I mean, right now we are working on a wildfire mitigation program to help ranchers. I mean, we all know the West has, been on fire for several years. These ranches are located right in the middle of these forests, and so we're working on a program with that. We want to help these ranchers work through some sustainable ranching practices for not only the wildfire, but just to keep this land going, to be good stewards of the land, which I believe in my heart dude ranches are.
How do you define good stewardship? Have you written it out? Do you have a program that teaches good stewardship? And how do you define it?
Yes, that's what we're working on. We're working on some written programs. I mean, ranches already do it on their own. Stewardship. I mean, they take care of the land. That's what they do. They don't overgraze. They don't override their trails. They are the ones, most of them, or a lot of them, ride on Forest Service land. They're the ones who are taking care of the trails. They're the ones that are clearing the trails in a way that is conducive to keeping the trails safe, keeping them usable, not overusing them. Land management strategies that ranchers they have to do in order to be successful. We need to focus more on that. We need to write a program for that, especially for new members that are coming in that don't operate quite under the guidelines of the DRA, which is one of their guidelines, is that you have to be a good steward of the land. We want to be able to help these guys interact with government agencies, which is not always easy. So that's one of the programs we're working on now as well.
Well, and Colleen, what's the name of the group that that we've allied with to provide wildfire mitigation planning?
Yeah, it's Forest Association, National Forestry Association, and then we're big proponents with a group called America Outdoors, which that's part of their mission statement as well. So we're trying to align ourselves with people that also are here to protect this land that we live in, because let's be honest, we have to do that or else it will go away. So we want to help inform the ranchers the wide range of ecosystems, the ways that they can maintain compliance with applicable laws and regulations, because they're busy running their ranches, so it's hard. I mean, this is a lot of technical stuff to get through, so that's one of our hopes, that we can help make that easier for the ranches. Did they answer your question?
Yeah, and I want to make a point that I think that, some of these programs are in progress. Wildfire mitigation, we're probably entering our second year. And so some of this is growth. But as you mentioned, the horse safety program's over 20 years old. The foundation's over 35 years old. We have an endowment. We've given a lot of scholarships over the years, but we feel that we're at that critical mass now with a history and an endowment and a pretty good story of success with everything we've done. This is my charity. This is where I know personally I can make a difference, and personally, I'm talking about me doing it, and anybody who cares about the West and kids going to college and dude ranch history being preserved and trying to work with Forest Service, which we are, and whatever government jurisdiction to reduce and limit these wildfire risks. These are really important goals, keeping people safe on their horses, all this stuff. And here at White Stallion, my brother and I, we're about to announce, and about this, Colleen, we've been talking about it. We're gonna do a match through the DRF, the Dude Ranch Foundation. They have a $100,000 endowed scholarship threshold, and we're gonna try really hard with our great guests to we're gonna match every dollar they put up, dollar for dollar, to get to that 100,000 threshold or above, and permanently endow a scholarship, and so that whatever we raise will spin off and send a kid to college. One of the only equine vet in Tucson, I'm digressing but on point, Jonathan was a wrangler here. He got a DRF scholarship and went to vet school with the help of that scholarship. He's the only vet taking emergency calls in Tucson today. Fresh out of school, getting abused by Tucson, doing all those late night calls. But our scholarship is going to be named White Stallion Ranch with the subtitle Never, Always Remember 911 and 107. That whole thing that happened in Israel's kind of big to us in our family, and we've had such a response every rodeo when we bring that Israeli flag out, and we have people in tears, and it means a lot to us, and so that's our subtitle to our scholarship. It's not about that. It's just to remind young people that there's some stuff we need to remember so we can all work to not allow it to happen again.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, when you first came to me with that story, again, the tears came out, and it's amazing that you have a heart for this. White Stallion Ranch has a heart for this. And, really, dude ranchers are going to get behind this because they have a heart for this as well. So bravo to you. Thank you.
Well, it's going to be all of us. But, hey, Dude Ranch Foundation, horse safety, scholarships, wildfire mitigation, and protecting our history and heritage. We've got all these great photos and minutes and memorabilia. If someone's interested, where do they go?
They can sure check us out on duderanchfoundation.org. You can check out all our programs there, or see our mission, see where we're at, what we're doing. You can always contact me direct at Colleen at duderanchfoundation.org. Happy, we put out a yearly magazine. It's called The Lariat Legacy. Happy to share that with anybody. If they would like a copy, just let me know. We're bringing back, again, trying to preserve the history. They used to put out a magazine for years and years and years, and they stopped doing it for a while, and trying to bring that back. So, yeah, just check us out on the website, duderanchfoundation.org.
Yeah, and the last one, of course, they're in our guest rooms, Lariat Legacy, and the last one involved my mother's story, where she told my dad, all right, if I can look at those mountains every morning when I wake up, I'll let you throw our lives away. So, true story, by the way. And so we love the magazine. We love the foundation. And it's a foundation that's small enough that you can really make a difference by participating, and yet not so small it's not consequential.
Right. A good way to put it. Thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us, and I guess next time we'll talk to Josie, because I'm excited about her coming on.
Yeah, I think you should. She's a great girl. You'll learn a lot from her. So thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I know it was short notice. So I hope I did okay.
Thanks a lot. It was great. You did great.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day. Bye.
Well, I've been sitting here mostly not participating because I don't have a background in it, but seeing how we talk about pulling it all together in a cohesive form, and in terms of where guest ranches go and how they talk about safety and how they keep their people safe and what they do about it. And so I'm more than happy to participate in that, and want to applaud the Dude Ranch Association for their efforts in staying safe and keeping their people safe and healthy.
Well, I mean, it is, at the end of the day, so like we tell guests, we want you happy and safe in the reverse order. Yeah. And there's nothing more important. But I'm gonna, I'm a Dude Rancher, so obviously I'm a fan. But I think one of the things we collectively do as Dude Ranchers is we're a little business and a little trade association that thinks big, and we've always thought bigger than we were. And because of that, we've done bigger things than people think we could. And the foundation's one of those things. And we just have gotten together for a lot of years and put ourselves in the position where now we can jump another hurdle and get even bigger and help kids at a higher level and spread our message of safety and protect our heritage.
Well, that's a wrap, folks, and thank you very much for being with us on the Cowboy Up podcast, where, again, Russell, Alan, and thank you, Colleen, for sharing with the stories that make this way of life, this Western tradition, this cowboy experience, very much a part of the American and good way of living. We sometimes say with a smile, the Western tradition will probably help save Western civilization. So we appreciate you being a part of our listening team, and please let us know how we're doing. Reach out to us at cowboyuppodcast@gmail.com, cowboyuppodcast@gmail.com. And next week, we're going to have Gidget. You heard me right. On the Cowboy Up podcast, we're going to have Gidget, and you'll just have to wait and see how much fun that will be. So, till then, remember, ride safely, stand tall, and do it right. And we'll be right back next week. Bye for now.
Storm rolled in from the western sky. 2,000 head of steers took flight. Good night paid those boys to ride, and by damn they would, though some might die. Don't say goodbye to the cowboy way. Tradition lives, and it's here to stay. 100 years and growing strong today. So don't say goodbye to the cowboy way. 300 years they guide her course from the Spanish quest to the blue and gray, to what we call the cowboy way. Don't say goodbye,
Don't say goodbye
to the cowboy way.
to the cowboy way.
Tradition lives, and it's here to
Here to stay.
100 years ago and strong today. So don't say goodbye to the cowboy way. Rawhide and steel, hooves and horns, legacy to the yet unborn. A code that comes from a hard-lived life. Your destiny when you're born to ride. Don't say goodbye to the cowboy way. Tradition lives, and it's here to stay. 100 years and growing strong today. So don't say goodbye to the cowboy way. Don't say goodbye. Don't say goodbye
to the cowboy way.